everybody, I'm so excited. Welcome back to the Urban Cake Republic channel. And don't forget, you can subscribe to our channel or you can press the notification bell so every time we do a tutorial, you won't miss out. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial that has been requested by one of our students, and it's actually working with a brand called Marvellous Molds. It's something that I've been using for quite a few years now, and these molds come in a variety of patterns. This is the one that I'm actually going to be demonstrating today. You might have seen them on some cakes and cake patterns and you wonder, oh, how do they do that? Now everyone's got their own way of doing it. I'll be showing you mine, which might be a little more simpler depending on you, and hopefully by the time you do it, you'll admire your cakes and so will all your friends. So before I talk too much, I'm going to let you know the equipment you're going to need for doing or producing a successful Marvellous Mold cake. First thing you're going to need is obviously the mold. You're going to need a cake as well. I'm using a dummy cake that I've covered already in sugar paste or fondant, and you can see it's got quite sharp edges. That's the fashion at the moment, but you can obviously make it quite softer. If it's a real cake, it will probably be a little bit softer, of course, unless of course you do the sharp edge style. And I'm using, just for the purpose of this tutorial, a very low turntable. You're going to need what's known as a smoother. This, if you're a familiar cakey or baker, is what you use to make your cakes very, very smooth when you put the fondant or the sugar paste on. So we're going to use this, and it's going to serve a different purpose. You're going to need some piping gel as well. That's going to be part of the glue, but I'll explain everything a little bit later on. You're going to need a teaspoon. You're going to need a brush. You're also going to need some cornflour as well. Going to need some water. And you're going to need your trusted rolling pin. You're going to need some sugar paste or fondant. And you're going to need some flour paste. You're also going to need an exacto knife. And finally, I'm going to haul this over. Oh, it's so big. Actually, I better move these out of the way. And all the ingredients will be listed and the equipment will be listed underneath this tutorial. Finally, you're going to need, not necessary, but it's always helpful to have one of these, which is a pasta maker. So it makes, if I turn it around this way, you feed your paste into the front and roll it, and what happens is that your paste is actually thinned as you would do pasta as well. So it's a really useful piece of equipment to have. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Of course, you can always roll out your sugar paste or your mix, as we're going to call it. We're going to call it pastillage for the purpose of this. You can roll it out with a rolling pin, so don't worry. With the mould, if you look at it, this is called the Moroccan lattice style, and you'll see at the bottom there's no space and at the top there's quite a bit of space at the top. So this is great for aligning your pattern. So what I tend to do is use the one that has no space as the bottom of, for the bottom of my cake, and the top bit obviously with space for the top of my cake. Now your cake hopefully should be around 4 inches tall. If it's a bit shorter, that's fine, you can cut off the tops, because what will happen is that there'll be a slight overlap over the top, and just make sure that it covers your cake. Now what you'll find exclusively with Marvellous Moulds is that they have a shape to them. So if you look on one side, it's quite wavy, and so is the other side. And the reason for that is that it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. All these parts should actually fit in, and I'll explain that when I actually do the cake, when I start decorating it. And what I've done, as you can see, I've used like a folder pouch, and I've cut it on the sides so I can open it out. And you can make quite a few of these, maybe about 10 of these, and pre-do them so that you don't have to waste time sort of every time having to use the pasta roller and what have you. You can actually pre-do these, and when you put it in the plastic, make sure no air goes into it so that it will still retain a little bit of moisture in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my sheet, and I'm going to put it on top. And I'm literally just going to use my folders, my fingers, excuse me, to go over the pattern. Just to press it down so I can see the pattern underneath. Now, using my smoother, I'm just going to go across the top. Just pressing down. And what happens is that you'll see the green coming through, which is the blades cutting through the paste. And I'm just going to use my rolling pin just to roll over. And the more you do this, the more that you'll find little green bits coming through with the blade. So I'm just going to continue doing this. You can see it's actually coming off by itself. Okay, which is cool. So I'm just going to go over very gently back and forth. So don't roll it all the way, just very gently back and forth until the green blades are showing through. Because if you do go a long way back and forth, what will happen is that you're going to get a double sort of cut and it won't be clean. So you want to make sure you've got a very clean cut. Now the wonderful thing about this pattern is that you can either take out all the diamonds, that is the centres of the diamonds, or you can take out the lines, so you'll have two complete different patterns that you can put onto your cake. So it's really two patterns in one, which is really, really good. So it's entirely up to you, depending on how you feel. And if I lift it up, hopefully, you'll be able to see the green blades coming through, poking through. I think you can see that. There you go, you can see some of the green blades poking through, and that's what you want. I'm going to use my craft or exacto knife, and I'm just going to take out the pieces that I don't want. So just gently lifting it out. I'm going to take out the centres of the diamond. be very gentle at this stage. You don't want to stretch it. Because if you stretch it, it's going to alter the shape of your overall pattern. Now you're left with the lattice pattern. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our piping gel and water mixture, and we're just going to put it onto where the paste is. So using your brush and the gel, we're just going to focus on where the diamonds are. Try not to get it on the plastic if you can. This forms our glue. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the bottom end, that is the bit with no space, and place that at the bottom or the base of the cake, using your board to actually make sure it's aligned, and then you're going to press the pattern onto the cake. You can use your hand, or you can use a smoother, and make sure the pattern is stuck onto the cake. So it's actually stuck to the cake. Then you can start painting. As you can see, I'm adding a little bit of gold on there. This is the original colour, which is the yellow, and I'm just adding a little bit of gold. And what I've got is a little bit of gold powder, which is here. It's a tiny little bit of gold powder. Let's see if we can get it into focus. Yeah, a little bit of gold powder. And I've put in a little bit of dipping solution. Alternatively, you can actually use alcohol. See if we can get that into focus as well. There you go. And you mix it together and you get a nice liquid. And then just using my brush, I'm just painting, so painting over the pattern. And it's just making it pop. But make sure that your pattern is actually dry before you do it. Otherwise it can start cracking, and you don't want any crackiness on your patterns. So I'm going to carry on. So we're on to the exciting part, which is putting our pattern onto our cake. So bringing over my cake with the turntable. As I said to you, there's a top and the bottom. So this narrow part, or the part with no patterns underneath or no spacing underneath, is going to be the bottom, and the gap on the top is going to be the top. So all you do is you place your mould onto your cake. Now this is the part where my heart starts pounding, and using the smoother make sure that it's actually level. And then what you're going to do is use the smoother to make sure that it stays on. And then make sure it sticks. And then it crumbles down and it goes wrong, and then you have a breakdown. And then you gather yourself like the diva you are and you start again. Yeah.